Hi, everyone, and a massive welcome to all of our subscribers and first-time viewers. I'm looking at there, Mr. William Slater. Great to see you. Today on InfoSec Live, I'm joined by my co-host with the most, wrong way, Mr. Lou Covey, Chief Editor at Cyber Protection Magazine, for a special focus on, I think, whether quantum computing is a bit of a chimera or not. So, as always, we're going to be taking questions from the audience, and we'd like some input from you guys and girls as well. But before we start, and for those that don't know, I'm your host, Simon Linstead, and if you enjoy our content, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're watching this live, do drop any questions in the chat. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We're going to be live for anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes today. If you're watching it on the replay and you've got any suggestions for future content, or you want to drop us a message, just drop me a line in the community. It would be great to hear from you. So, Lou, you reached out to me just after Christmas.
Yep.
And we had a little bit of a conversation about this topic, the quantum computing chimera. How did it come up for you? Where was it brought to your attention, and why are you so passionate about it?
Well, I love cybersecurity. I think it is the most important technology niche in the world because it touches absolutely everything. But the problem with the industry is they have really crappy marketing, and the primary tool of the industry for marketing is fear. And
don't forget uncertainty and doubt as well.
Well, yeah, but fear is one that leads the pack. And the thing is, because of that has led to me to be a certain amount of uncertainty and doubt about what they're saying. Now there is an incredible amount of information, and the quantum computing industry, especially the PQC people, post quantum computing people, fear is their big seller because they're saying they're going to build a quantum computer and it's going to break our encryption. Well, in theory, if you had a quantum computer powerful enough to do it, yes, you could. And then there's the basic story is, and we don't know how far ahead China or Russia or North Korea is. Well, yeah, we do, because there's some basic issues that need to be understood. Let's throw out that first slide. Okay. There's some hard numbers on quantum computing that we need to understand. Okay. Number one, at the most basic, the human brain operates at about 30 watts. That's pretty good. You could actually charge your iPhone off your brain if you could figure that out.
I think Elon Musk is trying to figure that out, isn't he?
Yeah, he actually is. Yeah. And a supercomputer will operate at 30 megawatts per hour. That's a lot of power. And the most powerful quantum computer today.
Well, hold on. For the poorly educated amongst us, what is the difference between the 30 and the 30 megawatts? What's a megawatt? 1,000 or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
1,000. Yeah. Whereas a quantum computer, the most powerful one today by atom computing, operates between 10 and 25 kilowatts. So for power wise, it's much more efficient than a supercomputer. Yeah. However, the power it takes for a quantum computer to decrypt a standard AES encryption will be 125 megawatts per hour.
Wow.
Let's take a look at that quantum computer that exists right now.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. I've got the wrong picture. Hold on. See, this is where I need technical support. Bear with me. There we go. There she is.
Okay. That's the most powerful quantum computer in the world. Is made by Atom Computing. It's ATOM. And be careful of gigawatts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll get to that too. So that has 1,100 qubits. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Oh, see, if only these had all been on one presentation, this would have been really slick. Hold on. So we want slide 3. This one.
Yeah. So the cost per qubit in that computer is $10,000 per qubit. And the maximum number of qubits they've been able to put into that computer that we just saw is 1,100.
Yeah.
But the number of qubits needed for decryption is 20 million.
That's a big difference.
And at a cost of 10,000 per qubit, it's going to make a quantum computer powerful enough for decryption, for AES decryption, is going to cost $200 billion.
Do we know what, when they say the cost per qubit is $10,000. One, what's a qubit? Do we know? And two, how is that cost calculated?
Well, okay, digital chips operate on ones and zeros, right?
Yep.
Qubits operate on 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 1.
One.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's multiple multiple sides. It's not digital.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives it a lot more flexibility and a lot more computing power. But they're very difficult to make, especially when
Yeah.
you're thinking that if you want one qubit, you're going to have to spend a lot of money just on that alone. So it's not that, it's an expensive process. Let's go to the last slide here.
Sorry, I don't know if whether Cuba was a UK or a US thing, but Prashant, I definitely remember who.
And I just noticed
was.
I spelled qubit wrong. It should be just QBIT.
Oh, it's okay.
As opposed to what Noah used to build the ark.
Yeah.
So the problem is that a quantum computer powerful enough to do decryption needs consistent power, a lot of it. And it's essentially going to need a nuclear power plant that provides about 100 that provides enough power that will cost 135 billion just to build that alone.
Wow.
And the thing is, all that power isn't going necessarily to the computer. A lot of it, most of it, is going to the cooling system. The cooling system has to keep that computer at almost absolute zero.
Yeah.
Okay, that means you've got a big facility and you've got a nuclear power plant next to it. So that's one of the things. We don't know if they're building one of these things.
So if we see one of these going up in China, we need to worry.
Yeah, you can see it from space. You could see the heat bloom of it. Okay. And with one of those computers, the time to decrypt a document with this, with the current computer, the atom computing one, that'll take decades, possibly centuries. Okay, with the most powerful computer, if it could be built, it could be done in 8 hours. But that's one document. It takes 8 hours to do that. So the estimated number of documents that China has stolen over the past 20 years that we can figure out is about 82,000.
I'd love to know where that figure's come from.
The FBI.
Okay, so that when you say documents China has stolen, it says comments in there, by the way. That was my typo. Apologies for that. 82,000. What type of documents is that?
Everything. They breach the system. They just start hoovering up as many documents as they possibly can. They don't know what's in them. They just know that they're encrypted documents. And that's just from that the FBI can figure out from the U.S. government. We don't know what they've stolen as far as
they know the amount that's been stolen. Michael mentioned that Google are now planning to have their own power plant to run a quantum computer.
Of course they do. Okay. And we'll get into that too. But the thing is, for China to decrypt all of the documents that they've stolen, even with the most powerful quantum computer they could build, it'll still take 80 years to get through it all. And
we're not saying that the FBI hacked into China's server with a quantum computer, are we? Just to clarify that.
No, because like I said, we've got the most powerful quantum computer at 1100.
Well, we think, right?
Well, that's basically, that's pretty much. But the thing is, anything bigger, you can still see the heat bloom from space. It takes that much power. Okay.
Paul Perini, good to see you in the chat, Paul. I don't think I've seen you in here before, so thanks ever so much for joining. He said it sounds like post-quantum encryption could be needed. You must have a comment on that, Lou.
Yeah, where was that again?
In the chat, Paul Perini says sounds like post-quantum encryption could be needed.
Ah, okay, there it is. Yeah. It could be. It could be if we have a credible threat.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I'm saying is, we don't have a credible threat yet. Okay, it is theoretically possible to build a quantum computer power enough to decrypt our nation's secrets, but it is not practical to do so.
No.
And here's some things. We can pop that slide off now. The problem with China, with Russia, with North Korea is that they don't have the money. They really don't. And they've got bigger problems. Yeah. There's a very well-respected geopolitical scientist, Peter Zahn, who estimates that China will devolve into a failed state in 10 years. Basically because they're not making enough people to run the country.
Yeah.
They've got they're producing 1/4 of a child per family by estimates.
Wow.
Okay, it's aging rapidly. That is causing a problem in that the people who are over 50 are on retirement. They're getting pensions.
Yeah.
They can't fund those pensions anymore because they're not enough young people.
Let's not even get into that debate. I mean, even in the UK here, our pensions are going to be unfunded by 2033, I think.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that if you think it's bad in the UK or bad in the US, it's even more of a nightmare in China and in Russia. Here's an interesting thing about Russia. According to Peter Zahn, there are only 150 people left in the country who know how to run the infrastructure, and they're all over the age of 60.
It sounds a bit like the industrial control system technology out there, where everyone's now retiring who knows how it works, and we're all going to be doomed in about 10 years' time.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. So the thing is, like I said, we can build this quantum computer in theory, but in practicality, it's a completely different situation. Yeah. Yes, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're all talking about building nuclear power plants. You know, after all these years of saying, no, we're not going to have nuclear power plants, we're going to build them to run this. Okay, that is a nightmare in itself, especially when we go back to the thing about industrial controls. We don't have very good industrial controls. So that means these plants are highly vulnerable. And when it comes down to who's going to get to a quantum computer first, I think it's going to be the United States. I think that's where the real danger is.
They can probably funnel all the resources from the scrap, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the government to... Sorry, it's not a topic. Right, don't, Simon, because you're going to start talking politics and it's not good. I've just brought up a comment here that we had on the post about our event today from Richard Foster from Brainstorm Security. And he said, I totally agree that the energy needed in computing power will be difficult to achieve. And then I consider how computer memory has improved over the last 30 years. The size of chips are now tiny and the volume of data is now vast. Do you see, I mean, the comparison I would use, I think, and I only found this out a few weeks ago after doing some research, is about electric cars and batteries and how big the batteries need to be to store X amount of power. Means that no matter how good we get at producing batteries, it's going to get to a point where they're too big to actually function. So it's going to be difficult for a long haul airplane ever to have or ever to be run on electric power. But you compare that to liquid fuel and the amount of power per unit as it is that, can we relate that to this? Do you think, unless we get some other form of power or we discover something else, is it going to take 50 years to get where we're talking about now? Or what do you think?
I think quite possibly. Yeah. I mean, there are some real breakthroughs coming down the pike in solid state batteries, but they really haven't been commercialized. Okay. And they have a lot more capacity and a lot smaller size and a lot longer duration. So when we get there, that might be one issue, but still you've got to generate the power to store it in the battery.
Yeah.
And we're a long way away from that. It's going to cost trillions of dollars to get us to the point where we can do that. And if we can, but the thing is, that doesn't mean that post-quantum computing encryption is a bad idea.
No.
we've had the same level, the same encryption standard for what, 25, 30 years?
Yeah.
Eventually, and the thing is, it's a lot easier to steal an encryption key than it is to decrypt a program.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to be a little bit more concerned about. So it's not so much post-quantum computing encryption, but protecting the access to the data in the first place.
100%. I think this all comes back, though, doesn't it, to what you said at the start, which is about cybersecurity firms and their marketing and their need to use fear. I mean, it was no different in financial services, I suppose, when I worked there. Give you an example. Used to go around and see a family. This is like 30 years ago, I'm talking now, when laptops first came out and you got the big printer in the bag with them. Used to go around and see a family, and we'd be talking about wills, estate planning, protection, that kind of thing. And you'd have your laptop, and the first slide would be a picture of the husband, the wife, and the two young children. And you'd press your button like this, and then the dad disappears on the next slide. It'd be like, can you imagine what would happen if Brian here had been hit by a bus yesterday, Brenda? Would the mortgage stop? Oh no. Would this stop? And then the next slide, once you've gone through all that, you press it again, the mum goes, and it's just the two little children standing there like this. And then it's and who would look after the do you know, this is my point. A lot of industries use fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think in some we need to, I'm not going to say we need to instill fear, but we need to relate things to people's own circumstances and what they can understand. But our industry's gone too far with it, right? Everything.
Well, you have the Chicken Little story that comes into place, where Chicken Little was claiming, or even crying, the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
Okay. You keep doing it, and if it doesn't happen, then people start getting antsy about it. I mean, right now, Cybersecurity Ventures is saying that this year, cybercrime will cost industry $25 trillion. It didn't hit $1 trillion last year, but this year is going to.
Where'd they get that from?
Well, that's the issue. But the thing is, it's well, I'll tell you where they got it. They got it from they got it from a semantic study done back in the 1980s.
Wow.
Okay, Semantic made this report and published it, and it's on the internet. And then what companies like Cybersecurity Ventures have been doing have been just, they say, okay, cyber crime increased 10% this year. So they added 10% to it. They just kept doing that again and again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what we don't understand is that 3 months after Symantec issued that report, the company they hired to do that report said, "Oh, we really screwed up. It's completely wrong." Symantec said, "No, we're saying this isn't our stuff," and they pulled it off. But nothing dies on the internet.
No.
And so the industry has been using that estimate to scare people into the idea that it's becoming a big problem. Well, the thing is, it is a big problem. Yeah. It's probably approaching $1 trillion, which is not hay. But when you keep overstating the problem, eventually people who start learning how to do stuff saying, these guys don't know what they're talking about. And last year, there was actually a declination of the growth of the industry. I mean, it's still growing, but it went down.
Is it in what, as in market
sales
cap or in sales?
In sales. And at the same time, investment has started to climb, but it's also gone down because the investors are saying, the stuff that you've been promising haven't been coming through. So that's a big issue. I can't remember the name of the company, but it's a PQC company that spun off of Google.
Okay.
They got a lot of money. And I noticed early last year, they started changing their marketing to not talk about the imminence of quantum computing decryption, but the importance of finding a new standard for encryption, because what we've had has been there for a long time, and eventually it will be broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that makes sense, doesn't it?
That makes a lot of sense. That's a
Yeah.
good marketing employ, and it's not using fear, it's using fact. And
Yeah.
that's what we're missing a lot. And I mean, I hate to blow the horn of my profession, but that's the job we're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
We're out there trying to find the facts. That's what
Okay.
journalists are.
Well, let me stop you there then. So you said something the other day. I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or in a conversation that we had, but we were talking about press releases and
Yeah.
what's news.
Yeah.
And you look at the press releases that come out in the cybersecurity industry. I mistakenly went to RSA with you actually last year on a press pass. What that's meant is I now get in my inbox every week a load of old shit. There's no
Yeah.
other terminology for it, from vendors saying exciting new press release or exciting new this.
Yes.
And you read it, and whatever it is, it's a product pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's empty of content.
Yeah.
It's just pushing a document. And the thing is, I had a meeting before, and I was trying to explain to them how this works. I will do about 300 interviews a year. Out of that, I will get about 100 stories and podcasts.
Yeah.
That's about the maximum I can do. But there are 5,000 companies in the cybersecurity industry, and they're all sending me stuff. So if I can take a look at a press release, or I get a pitch from somebody that I don't have to spend time validating what the hell they're saying, they're more likely to get a story.
Yeah.
But if I have to spend time taking it apart and figuring out what's true and what isn't, if I don't have to do that, it's a lot easier for everybody. And if more people spent time not trying to push fear, uncertainty, and doubt, okay, and get right to the facts of why this is important, my job would be a lot easier. I'd be able to produce a lot more stories.
Do you think that we're rubbing up our buyers in the wrong way as an industry? We're not
Yes.
sending the messages that they want to hear. I mean, you've been started. I know this isn't the sales pitch, but I'm going to drop this in here. We're nearly out of time, and I want to make sure I cover it. You do media training, right? To help these businesses do this. And recently, I think it was last week, you started to post a series of short form videos on YouTube giving people tips. And I've watched all of them, but the one that really made me think was the one about the words you're using. Do you want to just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Because I think it relates to this completely.
And there's actually some data on this that I found. There are certain words that are common to all press releases. One of them is leading or leader.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always liked to say, if you think you're a leader, look behind you. If there's nobody there, you're just taking a walk. And that's pretty much what the industry is.
Can I just stay on that? Because what is it with people feeling the need to use that as their title on LinkedIn?
Okay, well, it goes back to a book called Crossing the Chasm.
Okay.
Back in the 1970s. Everybody read that. It's a very good book. Has a lot of good things to say. And one of the things it said is find a niche and become a leader in it. And that's how you be successful. Well, most marketing people who got the book from their CEO, who demanded they read it, got about as far as the first chapter, which told them how to do that, or told them to do that, but didn't read the rest of the book that told them how to do it.
Okay, understood.
Okay? Yeah. So they just start, well, all we got to say is we're the leader.
Yeah.
And so now you've got 5,000 companies saying we're the leader in cybersecurity, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they haven't done the work to find out if they actually are the leader. I've talked to several investors, and one of them happens to be Bob Ackerman, who I think a lot of people would know. And he agrees with this statement that I got from a VC years ago. He said, if a company comes in and tells me that they're the leader, or they're the only, or they're the first, I assume two things. Number one, either they haven't done their market research, or number two, nobody really wants to buy what they're selling.
So how do we position ourselves then? That's the question, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's one of the things I found is that the companies that are truly the leaders never say they are.
No.
And that's a way to get through the dross. If you're not spending your time trying to convince somebody that you're the best, or you're the first, or you're the leading, and you just get to the point of what it is you do.
This is making me think of all the award-winning security leaders I keep saying on.
Oh God, I hate awards
LinkedIn.
programs. I absolutely hate them because when I sit down to buy something on Amazon, I'm not looking for someone who won an award. I don't even give a shit about the number of stars they've got, because I know that's all bullshit too.
Although Brian said kind of like a diner, saying they have the world's best cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I think you'll find that I've just launched the world's best cup of coffee, Brian. Thanks for the segue into Rokius coffee, by the way. Please check out the website for further info.
I want to get a pound of that, by the way.
I've got, look, hold on. One I prepared earlier. I've got some for you here, and I've got some to give away. This is our courage blend. We've got a resilience blend coming out in about 3 or 4 weeks. But when I see you in San Francisco in April, because I think it's the 28th this year, isn't it? RSA.
Yeah, I got to get myself signed up for that.
Yeah, I'll bring you some.
All right.
Lovely. Sorry, just sort of having a conversation with Lou and forgetting that we're live on YouTube.
So yeah, so to form it all back there, PQC has a place in cybersecurity. Okay, yeah. But they've got to work harder on not trying to scare people into it. They've got to come up with an actual reason people need to have it right now.
Yeah,
and that's all marketing.
An actual emotional response from people that means something.
Yes, and if we can get to that point, we can actually do what needs to be done. Because yeah, eventually in about 50 years we'll have quantum computing that can break encryption, but not right now.
I'll be long gone by then.
Yeah. And right now, I just need a cup of coffee.
Yeah, me too. So while we're on coffee, Chris, thank you. One of our happy customers in the audience there who has ordered some and enjoyed it, so much so that we're in conversations about doing some charity work with them. And Michael, I'll bring someone. I travel an hour down the road to see you, and we can try some coffee as well. What's Mad Dog said? Rokius coffee causing a ruckus live on stream. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I highly recommend any sales or marketing people out there or CEOs of cyber companies who are struggling with that messaging. This isn't a sales pitch, but I love Luke a bit. I believe in everything that he does. I've dropped a link in there for these short form videos. Have a look. There's a whole series of them. They're really, really good. And if you've got any questions about anything media related, he is the man. So, Lou, any final words before we wrap up and I go and have another decaf coffee? Actually, in my new free, can I get that to focus? Aylesbury United, the Mighty Ducks. Apparently, thank you, Simon, for this very nice mug.
Yeah, it's going to get real nasty this year as far as cybersecurity goes, because the United States seems to be pulling out of all kinds of regulations requiring it. But the EU is holding firm, so I am looking forward to a lot of fireworks between the EU and the United States.
Yeah, so we've got DORA coming out now,
and I've got a story coming out on that.
Okay, and then we've got Trump going whoosh. Nah.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think, I had a conversation with someone about this earlier, I don't think Europe will back down on this.
No, I don't think they will either.
And I'll be horrified if they do.
Well, I was watching the EU Parliament yesterday. Yes, I do that. And there were several speeches where the Parliament members got up and spoke directly to Mark Zuckerberg and said, if you don't like it, you're free to take your advertising business somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if anyone saw an article I did last week where I stood outside the Facebook headquarters, because we've made the decision to drop all things Meta.
Yeah.
Okay. And X and all that stuff. We're going all in on Blue Sky and other decentralized platform. But I was standing in front of the Facebook headquarters, which is just about a mile from my house, going like this.
Did you get a picture?
Yes, it's the leading picture on the story.
Brilliant. I love that. No, it's interesting times for sure this year. Lots of change coming, some of it good, some of it perhaps not so good. But in the vain hope of an entrepreneur, business owner, I'm hoping what's going on in the US at the moment might be quite good for business. So I'm trying to find a silver lining on all the stuff I'm looking at and going, oh, But that's a whole nother show that I'll lose lots of connections and friends over if we start having that discussion. So
Yeah.
probably best not to. So look, time to wrap up. We'll go for a coffee, Lou. I'm going to go and have my tea, as we say here in the UK. Let's do
And
another one
Michael,
of these next week or the week after if you've got some time.
yeah, and Michael, yes, I am on LinkedIn.
Yes, he is. Let me get the link. Hold on, Michael. Make myself useful while I'm here. Covey. Here he is. Profile. Sorry, Michael. You know I take ages with things like this. And go. And there it is. Hey, Andrew. Good to see you. Right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Lou, thank you for your time. Let's do another one next week or the week after before I come to Tampa. Or we could do one while I'm in the US. I come to the US on the 5th of February. There for a few days.
Excellent.
Launching a business. So I need to catch up with you on that anyway. So maybe we'll do one when I'm over. Bitcoin to $1 million, Andrew says. I hope so. Although I sold out ages ago because I'm too much of a coward to take risk anymore. So if you're brave enough, go for it. Me, no, it's under the bed. But not in this house.
There you go. All right.
See you all later. Take care. Bye.